Welcome to the Plato Paradigm, a paradigm shift in reading Plato's dialogues. Episode 110, Meno 84b to E. Socrates carries on talking about the slave's aporia, when actually, as we've already seen, he's really talking about Meno's aporia, and the way Meno treats answers as knowledge. Prurgu gunti pepoiekamen hos eoike, prosto exiren hope eche. At any rate, we have done something useful, so it seems, towards him finding out where he stands or what the situation is. Nun men gar kai zetese en anhedeos ukedos, totede radios an kai prospolus kai polakis, o et aniu legen peritu diplasiu choriu, hoste diplasianten grammen echen meke eoiken. For now he would happily seek, because he doesn't know, but then he would easily have thought that he was speaking well in front of many people and often about the double area, as if it has to have the double line in length. It's actually absurd to think that the slave would have the time or the opportunity to boast about his knowledge in geometry. It was Meno who said that he, on many occasions and in front of many people, has given the answers which now Socrates has refuted or not accepted as plausible. If Meno had the ability to apply to himself what Socrates is saying about the slave, he may have begun to wonder about the truth of the answers he's been given by Gorgias and others. As it is, he can see that it would have been wrong for the slave to boast about an incorrect answer, that the double area is constructed from the double baseline, and he can see that if the slave has this answer, there is no reason for him to look for another answer. But it doesn't occur to Meno that he is in the same situation, that he has answers preventing him from looking for the correct answer. For Meno, any answer is a good answer. He just collects answers. He doesn't replace answers with better answers. His reaction here that the slave would look for the correct answer once he realizes that he doesn't know is not very confident. He just says, "It seems, so it seems," although this might just come from contempt for slaves. It's highly unlikely that a slave would search for knowledge. So Socrates reformulates the question in a way which is logically compelling for Meno. In other words, it is tailored to the way Meno thinks. Oie un an auton proteron epicheres aizeten e manthanen tutoho oeto edenai uk edos, prin es aporian katepesen hege samenos me edenai, kai epothesen to edenai. Umoi dokeo Socrates. So do you think he would try to search or learn this which he thought he knew when he didn't know, before he fell into aporia, realizing that he didn't know and desired to know? It doesn't seem to me Socrates. Socrates is playing on the heuristic question which Meno had exploited earlier in order to avoid giving another answer. Meno had claimed, using the heuristic formulation, that someone who knows wouldn't seek. Someone who doesn't know wouldn't know that he's found what he was looking for. So in either case, there's no possibility of learning. Now Socrates has shown that you can realize that you don't know what you thought you did know, and it is only then that you would start looking. It's as if Socrates agrees with the eristic premise that if you know, you won't search. But he's saying the aporia now allows you to go and search. Now, Meno can no longer use his own aporia as an excuse for not carrying on the search. But this is something he can live with because it's the slave who has to carry on searching and not him. One to aranarchesas, dokemoi. So he received a benefit when he was numbed by the torpedo fish. It seems to me, skepsai de ectautestes aporias hotikaya nurese, zeton met emu, uden ale erotontos emu kai u didaskontos. Observe then from this aporia that he will also find, he will even find, when he's searching with me, and I am doing nothing but asking and not teaching. So we're back to the pretense that this is showing that there is recollection, where a person simply looks into the eternal soul, which has seen everything everywhere in previous generations, and remembers, recollects knowledge which is stored there in the soul. We have to remember that teaching here, didaske, means giving answers the way a sophist teaches someone such as Meno. Pylatedean puhires medidasconta kai diexionta auto, ala metas tutu doxas anerotonta. Watch out that you might perhaps find me teaching and detailing things to him rather than interrogating his opinions. This is the first mention of opinions in this dialogue. The noun opinion is doxa. There is a cognate verb, doko, which we have had quite often, and it's normally translated seems, like dokemoi, it seems to me. Meno says this a lot. It's the same as saying, I have an opinion. Actually, doxa should literally be translated as that which seems. Another sense of doxa, which we don't have in this dialogue, is reputation, because how I seem to others is my reputation. How things seem to me is my opinion. Why am I emphasizing this now? It's because doxa becomes one of the main concepts under discussion in the second half of the dialogue. It's interesting that Plato always makes Socrates introduce things which become important later, slightly earlier in the conversation. The exercise with the slave is supposed to demonstrate recollection, but now Socrates has introduced opinions. He's going to examine the opinions of the slave. Now let's suppose that the slave finally has a correct opinion about the baseline. Will it be an opinion, or will it be proof that the slave has looked into his soul and found the knowledge that he required for the baseline of the double area? Socrates may have wanted Meno already to think of this sort of problem, but Meno is passive. He enjoys watching the demonstration, but he doesn't compare, contrast, and apply what he is seeing to the theory of recollection. I say theory, it's not even a theory, it's just a story. But of course, Plato is writing this dialogue for his readers. He is not concerned about the benefit to the characters in the dialogue. It's much better for the readers if the characters remain static. The characters do not change in their personality. Now Socrates returns to the slave to complete the exercise. Lege garmoi su, foretell me, you, utomen tetrapun tuto hemin estin chorion, manthanes, egoge. Isn't this for us a 4-square area? Do you understand? I do indeed. Even a slave can count 4 small squares, which make up an area of 4 squares. Heteron de auto prosthemenan tuti ison, nai. And we would add to this another one. This equal? Yes. The second 4-square area doesn't actually need to have 4 squares. It can just be the area. It looks equal to the 4-square area without showing the 4 squares. We don't actually know whether Socrates shows the 4 squares or not. If the slave can see a 4-square area without seeing the 4 squares, that's already an advance. It's almost as if he has some ability to abstract, but also he has an ability to compare the sides of 2 squares to see that they are both the same. If one has 4 squares, then the other one has 4 squares, even if we can't see them. Kai triton tode ison hekatero tuton? Nai. And this third one equal to each of these? Yes. Uk un pros anaplerosaimeth anto entegoniet tode? Panuge. So we would complete by adding this in the corner. Quite so. So we now have 4 4-square squares, making up one 16-square square. Tiun to holon tode, posse plasion tude gignetai, tetraplasion. What then? This whole is how many times this? 4 times. Notice that when Socrates just says this, he doesn't have to explain what he's talking about. He's pointing at something, so we don't hear words like square or area. He's just saying this. And this reminds us that he's not simply asking questions. He's leading the slave with drawings, with a diagram, and then asking questions about what he's already done. The slave is not initiating opinions, he is reacting to the diagrammatic opinions, if you will, of Socrates. Ede dege diplasion hemin genestai, memnesai, panuge. But we needed a double area to come about. Don't you remember? Or don't you recollect? Absolutely. Does the slave go into his soul to remember this, or does he simply remember the conversation?